What if the key to making a woman desire you more is to give her less attention? It sounds wrong, almost heartless, but beneath that discomfort lies one of psychology's quiet truths. Neglect doesn't always push her away. Sometimes it pulls her in. When you stop feeding her emotions, her mind begins to chase the silence, searching for the validation your presence once gave. And the more she can't find it, the more she feels you. By the end of this video, you'll see why your emotional withdrawal doesn't make her forget you. It makes her obsess over you. You've been told that love is proven through consistency, through constant communication, through endless effort. Yet there comes a moment when effort becomes noise, when the more you give, the less she feels. You think presence builds security, but to her instinctive mind, security without tension fades into numbness. A woman doesn't fall for comfort. She falls for contrast, the unspoken tension between closeness and distance, warmth and restraint. When you begin to withdraw, her emotions enter contradiction. She tells herself she doesn't need you, yet she keeps returning to your absence. She'll replay the quiet moments, searching for clues in what you didn't say, because what's missing starts to mean more than what's present. Your silence gains weight, your distance gains shape. You become less of a man and more of a force, undefined, uncontained, unpredictable. Most men break before that moment. They sense her confusion and rush to fix it, not realizing that in their need to be understood, they destroy their mystery. The average man texts to explain, calls to clarify, pleads to be seen. But in doing so, he shows that his emotional world depends on hers, and nothing extinguishes feminine curiosity faster than predictability. The stoic man doesn't move from insecurity. He understands that attraction isn't born in closeness. It's born in emotional gravity. His stillness unsettles her because it reveals contrast. He doesn't withdraw to wound, he withdraws to witness. He allows space to do what words cannot, to remind her that attention has value only when it's scarce. When you stop feeding her emotions, her brain enters the same loop as addiction. The dopamine spikes that once came from your responses now come from your absence. She checks her phone not for communication, but for confirmation. Proof that she still matters in your world. And when that proof doesn't arrive, her mind begins to wander into obsession. She imagines what you're thinking, who you're with, whether you've stopped caring. Each unanswered question deepens her attachment to the silence you've created. But this silence isn't punishment. It's not the cold withdrawal of indifference. It's the composure of a man who no longer needs to be validated to feel whole. You're not ignoring her. You're honoring yourself. You've learned that your peace isn't something to be negotiated every time someone tests it. You've understood that true dominance isn't control over another's emotions. It's control over your own. There's a quiet strength in not reacting, in allowing discomfort to exist without trying to fix it. That's what separates the stoic man from the ordinary one. Not cruelty, but clarity. You see through the illusion that every silence must be filled, because you know that when you no longer rush to reassure, she begins to realize the gravity of losing your attention. She'll test your composure, consciously or not. She'll mirror distance to provoke response, hoping to confirm that she still holds power. But when you don't flinch, when you remain centered, unbothered, and grounded in your own presence, the balance shifts. What began as her pulling away turns into her gravitating back, drawn by the calm that her own chaos cannot replicate. This is where emotional neglect, misunderstood by most, reveals its truth. It's not about starving affection, it's about redefining its value. You are teaching her through restraint that your energy is earned through respect, not demanded through emotion. You are reminding her that love without boundaries becomes dependency, and that attraction without distance becomes decay. In your stillness, you become a mirror. She begins to see herself, her patterns, her impulsive need for reassurance, her craving for control. And though she may not admit it, that realization awakens admiration, because beneath every test, every withdrawal, every emotional storm, a woman seeks one thing, a man she cannot shake. You become that man not through dominance, but through depth, through the quiet discipline of knowing when to engage and when to let silence speak for you. When she senses that her emotions no longer dictate your behavior, something inside her softens. Respect replaces resistance. Curiosity replaces comfort. The very distance she feared becomes the gravity she craves. And that's when the transformation begins. When your restraint shifts from confusion to command. She starts to associate your silence with stability, your absence with importance, your composure with power. What once felt like neglect now feels like leadership. And she begins to realize that you were never withholding affection. You were protecting the sanctity of your attention, because in truth, desire is not sustained by how much you give, but by how much you hold back with purpose. The Stoic man understands that control over one's emotions creates influence far greater than persuasion. It's not the loudness of your passion that draws her. It's the depth of your silence, the mystery of a man at peace within himself. When a man withdraws, not from anger but from awareness, his silence takes on an entirely different meaning. It's no longer neglect, it's elevation. To her, this withdrawal feels like the vanishing of a familiar rhythm. She feels the echo of your presence in her nervous system. The warmth she once absorbed without gratitude now becomes a void she cannot fill. And in that void, she discovers something she never expected, a reverence for your absence. Most men believe they must convince a woman to value them. But value never comes from persuasion, it comes from deprivation. When you pull back with clarity, you give her the rarest experience, uncertainty, not chaos, not conflict, but the sacred unknown that reawakens her curiosity. She begins to look at you not as something she can have, but as something she must earn all over again. This is where attraction evolves into obsession, because true desire is born not in comfort, but in contrast. When you were present, she felt secure. But when you became still, she felt the cost of taking that security for granted. It is in your absence that her mind begins to replay your composure, your tone, your discipline. The things she once overlooked now stand out as proof of your difference. The Stoic man doesn't withdraw to create pain. He withdraws to create perspective. He understands that emotional space is not distance, it's definition. It's how the world learns where your boundaries begin and where theirs end. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." A woman feels the same truth when she wastes her emotions on men who react. You, by contrast, become a still frame in her chaos. Proof that peace exists somewhere beyond her storm. The moment she realizes you will not chase her emotions is the moment her respect begins. Because deep down, every woman wants to feel the weight of a man who does not need her to remain whole. She may argue, test, and provoke, but beneath it all, her instinct knows. The man who controls his emotions cannot be controlled. And this realization unnerves her. It shifts the power dynamic entirely. She no longer feels like the director of the emotional script. You've become the silent author. When she pulls away, you remain calm. When she grows distant, you do not pursue. When she grows cold, you do not mirror her frost. You maintain warmth without weakness. In doing so, you teach her something no words could express. Your energy cannot be manipulated through emotion. This composure becomes your greatest weapon. Not through aggression, but through alignment. Machiavelli warned that power often belongs not to the strongest, but to the most disciplined. The man who cannot be baited by emotion wields influence that feels almost supernatural. Because while others chase validation, you chase understanding. While others react to rejection, you remain still enough to see its illusion. Her emotional world is motion, constant, cyclical, reactive. Yours must be structure, deliberate, centered, immovable. When you embody this, you stop playing the game and become the game's boundary. She no longer measures your interest by attention, but by tension. The tension between what she feels and what you choose to reveal. She begins to study your silences like scripture. Every unanswered message becomes a mystery. Every pause in your tone becomes poetry. She starts to crave not your attention, but your approval. And in that craving, she rediscovers her femininity. Because when your emotional control rises, hers begins to balance. You become the gravitational center her instincts have been seeking. A man who doesn't orbit her moods, but around whom her emotions naturally settle. Yet this power is delicate. Misused, it becomes cruelty. Mastered, it becomes magnetism. The difference lies in intent. The stoic man does not ignore, he observes. He does not withhold, he refines. His restraint is not punishment, but principle. It's how he guards the sanctity of his peace while allowing attraction to mature into reverence. You see, emotional neglect in its purest form isn't absence. It's presence without dependency. It's when your attention ceases to be reactive and starts becoming selective. You no longer respond to impulse, but to alignment. You no longer speak to be heard, you speak to be understood. You are no longer a man chasing affection, you are a man curating experience. And that experience is unforgettable, because what she feels around you isn't stimulation, it's significance. You've replaced chaos with clarity, and that clarity carries a strange seduction. It makes her feel seen not through words, but through energy. She begins to associate your composure with safety, your silence with strength, your mystery with meaning. Over time, her attachment deepens, not because of what you do, but because of what you don't. Your refusal to over-explain keeps her invested. Your emotional distance doesn't diminish love. It amplifies its gravity. She stops trying to read your emotions and starts respecting your restraint. What once seemed like neglect now feels like mastery. And this is the paradox that few men understand. When you pull back to protect your peace, you awaken hers. When you withdraw to preserve self-respect, you invite hers to rise. And when you no longer seek control through reaction, you gain control through mystery. Because the most magnetic man is not the one who dominates with force. It's the one who dominates with silence. The one who has learned that true power is not in being desired, but in being understood as irreplaceable. What you're beginning to understand is that the pull between a man and a woman isn't built on words, promises, or performance. It's built on gravity. And gravity doesn't speak, it simply pulls. When you stop chasing her emotions, something strange begins to happen. She starts chasing your essence. Your silence becomes a mirror that reflects her own need for validation. Your restraint exposes her dependency on reassurance, and the more she tries to find herself in your reaction, the more she realizes that her emotions orbit your calm. This is the quiet power of a man who has learned not to feed chaos. The world teaches women that attention equals worth, but your composure rewrites that code. You teach her, not through lecture, but through energy, that connection cannot be built on constant validation. It must rest on respect, and respect only grows where there is space. So, when she feels you pull away, she interprets it as loss. But in reality, it is correction. It is the rebalancing of energy, her storm meeting your stillness. What she perceives as neglect is your refusal to abandon your center. What she feels as distance is your discipline in protecting the sacredness of self. This is where emotional mastery becomes spiritual architecture. Every man must build his own inner empire, a state of being untouched by external validation. When you achieve this, you don't just influence her emotions, you reframe her psychology. She begins to respond to you as one responds to truth, not as something to be owned, but as something to be revered. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The same principle rules attraction. You do not own her feelings, but you command your presence, and your presence is the invisible language her instincts understand. Think of it like this. When a man is emotionally reactive, his energy becomes scattered. A woman feels that instability like static. It makes her pull back, test, and resist. But when a man remains composed under tension, his energy condenses. It becomes magnetized. That magnetism is not charm, it's sovereignty. It tells her subconscious that your emotions belong to you and no one else. This is why she craves you after you withdraw. Because that withdrawal isn't rejection, it's the restoration of polarity. You're reminding her of the difference between chaos and command, between noise and focus, between need and worth. You become the contrast that her emotional world was missing. But understand this clearly, this power demands humility. The Stoic man doesn't play with emotion, he refines it. He doesn't manipulate, he calibrates. His silence is not punishment, it's poetry. It communicates without words that his love will never compete for attention, that his time, presence, and energy are treasures, not tools. And the more he embodies this, the more women feel it. They sense his depth in the way he pauses before speaking. They feel his certainty in the way he holds eye contact without demand. They recognize his worth not by his words, but by what he withholds. The rare discipline of not needing to prove anything. You see, most men lose power because they confuse emotional control with emotional coldness. But true stoicism isn't numbness. It's alignment. It's the art of feeling deeply without being owned by what you feel. When you master that, you don't suppress your emotions, you govern them. And in governing them, you inspire the very emotions in her that you once tried to chase. She doesn't just want your affection anymore. She wants your recognition. She wants to know she's earned the warmth that now comes sparingly, deliberately, meaningfully. She starts treating your attention like currency, because she's learned what it costs to lose it. And that's the beauty of your restraint. It teaches her value without a single word. It awakens her femininity by reintroducing rarity into her emotional world. It makes her feel again, not through indulgence, but through the quiet ache of your absence. Over time, this dynamic matures into something profound. Your calm no longer threatens her, it steadies her. Your distance no longer confuses her, it defines you. She begins to mirror your stillness, and the relationship becomes what it was always meant to be. Not a battlefield of validation, but a sanctuary of balance. Because when a man leads with composure, the entire relationship recalibrates. She feels safer, softer, more open, not because you give more, but because you need less. Your detachment frees her from emotional dependency, allowing true connection to form on the foundation of respect rather than reaction. And this is the final truth that separates men who are desired temporarily from men who are remembered eternally. The former chase emotion, the latter embody meaning. One seeks to be loved, the other becomes love's frame. You, as the Stoic man, are not here to be consumed. You are here to be understood. You are not her escape from emptiness. You are the mirror that reveals it. And in that reflection, she rediscovers her depth, her longing, and her capacity to feel. So when she craves you after you pull away, it isn't because you vanished. It's because in your silence, she finally met the man who cannot be shaken. The man who walks through love as he walks through life, steady, sovereign, and seen. And as the world spins around chaos, you remain what few men ever become. The calm within her storm, the mystery she can't decode, and the lesson she'll never forget.